I'm Legal Eagle, and I'm an American attorney, and this is Koichiro Matsui. He's a Japanese criminal lawyer, and we're reacting to Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Objection. It's not Phoenix Wright. It's Naruhodo Ryuichi.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a long day.
弁護士さんの弁護士さんがいないって
小中のやつが手を回したんだろうね。さあ、そろそろ開廷の時間だ。
でも
大丈夫。僕に考えがある。
In the first episode, Phoenix Wright, or whatever his name is,
Naruhodo Ryuichi. Yeah, it's difficult to remember.
he is very proud to become an attorney, and he puts a pin on his lapel.
Right.
I can't help but notice you are wearing a pin on your lapel. Is that how we know that you are a real practicing attorney as well?
Yes, only attorneys can get this. So he is a lawyer.
Is there a store that sells the lawyer pins and you can get a whole totally different one?
No, this is the single one you have to get.
Okay.
So you cannot get different ones.
And do you have to wear it in court?
I'm not sure actually. Maybe you don't have to wear it. But I think it looks much more like arrogant and much looks nicer in a way. So.
蹴りをつけてやるんだ。
Oh look. This is the pen actually. If you look at the inside of the pen, this is the same mark.
Oh, it has the scales of justice
yeah.
on it. Oh, it's so small. It's,
Yeah, and it's so small that you can't see.
Yeah, it's
but-
right in the middle of it. Okay, got it. Does a Japanese courtroom look anything like that? Because that is nothing like what an American courtroom looks like.
No, this is totally ridiculous. That's how it looks. No. First of all, the audience, they're looking from from the top. We don't have audience looking from the top. That's ridiculous. No.
Yeah.
検察側の再調査によって状況は大きく変わったようです。そうですね。
Would anyone wear a frilly thing like the prosecutor is here?
No, I've never seen one of these like prosecutors wearing the fluffy stuff. No.
Yeah, I will say your hair is just as good as the prosecutors. Though,
Oh,
so
thank you.
At least that's not unrealistic.
検察側は被害者の妹綾里迷いの犯行と考え起訴したのであるが、昨日新たな証拠と証言によって真犯人と思われる容疑者が浮かび上がった。容疑者の名はなるほど隆一。極めて異例ではあるが、本日この法廷で検察側は弁護士なるほど隆一の犯行を立証したい。
しかしそうなると、そのなるほど隆一を弁護するのは一体誰なのですかな？
ご心配なく。自分の弁護は自分でします。
なんですと？
Could a lawyer represent himself in a capital murder case?
The answer is no. You have to have another lawyer who's defending lawyer.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Especially in a murder case.
Yeah. I mean, in the U.S., we have a saying: a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Oh, okay.
So it is very frowned upon. If you are accused of murder, you should not represent yourself. In the US, you have a right to an attorney to be provided to you by the state. But it is actually possible. And there are many famous cases. They don't generally go well for the defendant, but you can represent yourself.
But in Japan, for civil cases, there are some people who actually go to the court by themselves. But for criminal cases, you actually have to hire a lawyer, especially in the murder cases.
Yeah. So what happens when you are accused of a crime, but you can't afford an attorney to represent you?
Oh, so if that's the case, the government chooses lawyer for you. So you're able to have a lawyer without any money, basically.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay for them.
Okay. That's pretty similar to the
Yeah.
US.
弁護側、なるほど隆一。準備完了しております。
You don't scream in the courtroom.
I'm happy to hear that.
If you scream in the courtroom in Japan, you're basically out of the room immediately.
Yeah. I was going to say, it seems like in all animes,
Oh, right, yeah.
they're always screaming all the time.
That's true.
そう来なくてはな。
それでは三剣検事始めるように。
So in the US version, the prosecutor's name is Miles Edgeworth. But here in the Japanese version, his name is Mitsurugi. Does that have any connotations?
Yeah, actually, tsurugi is kind of like a sword. So kind of the edge and sword kind of connects to.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
All right,
quite
that's-
similar anyway.
Well, that's a lot more similar than Phoenix Wright's.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
では早速なるほど隆一の犯行を目撃した証人を入廷させていただこう。
In the American version, they use a lot of puns about Phoenix Wright. Oh, you're Phoenix wrong. You know,
I see.
you didn't rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
Is there a similar pun going on with his name in Japanese?
No, the name is actually nothing to do with like Phoenix Wright. It's Naruhodo Ryuichi means Naruhodo is like in Japanese like I see when you understand it. And Ryuichi comes from Sakamoto Ryuichi, who's actually a famous musician.
Huh.
So it's nothing to do with Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, but does anyone actually have the name Naruhodo?
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So I guess they're trying to make it seem like he's a very smart and inquisitive person and he'll see through all of the shenanigans in court, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
弁護側なるほど隆一準備完了しております
So they just finished a trial of someone that was acquitted of murdering Phoenix Wright's Naruhodo's boss. And they just go straight into another trial,
Right.
no indictment whatsoever. I assume there must be some process to start a prosecution, and they didn't follow it.
You have to start a new trial first of all. If you want to accuse some other person, yeah. So you can't just like, you know, say he's a new murderer in the same trial. No, you can't do that. You have to start a new trial for sure.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
彼女は僕を目撃したなんて一言も言ってませんよ
彼女はミス嘘つき女だからね。だからこうして僕が来たんじゃないか。ミスター殺人犯。
So it's funny that the ace attorney is most famous for making objections. If I were him or the defense attorney, I would be objecting to this testimony that it's unfairly prejudicial because he's calling him Mr. Murderer, and he keeps saying that this guy committed.
Right, that's true. That's
yeah,
true.
it's totally objectionable.
Yeah.
And yet he's not objecting.
I don't know what he was thinking.
すると窓の外で物音がしたんだよ。ガッシャン What? なんだするとギザギザヘアの男がロングヘアのレイリーを襲っていた。
何今の音
おう Just fit! それでジエンドさ。My God!
So we of course know that he's lying. But I also think it's really funny that he's supposed to have heard this crash behind a closed window in an office building, and there's another closed window in another office building, and an alley between the two places, and there's no way that he would have heard any of that between that.
Right.
You know, let alone stopped his reading to, you know, pretend to watch this stuff.
Yeah. Why no one stopped it? You know?
Yeah. Of course, surely if he heard the crash,
Yeah.
this must have been the loudest crash in history, and other people would have helped out.
そんな嘘ですだって
ただいまの証言、確かに決定的と言ってよいでしょう。
まるで台本があるかのようにスムーズだ
Also, it would be completely improper for the judge to opine from the bench. Oh, Mr. Witness, that was really good testimony, and I'm totally convinced of what you have to say.
I know. The judge is just stating his opinion. Like, you have to wait until the end. Come on.
In a Japanese criminal prosecution, would it be a judge determining guilt or innocence, or would there be a jury?
Usually the judge.
Okay.
But in the murder cases in Japan, we have kind of like a jury system. It's a similar to jury system. When some citizens participate in making decision.
Right.
Usually 6 of them. 6 citizens with 3 judges.
それでは弁護人、尋問を。
はい犯行を目撃した時間は確かですか
僕は常に完璧にパーフェクトだからね。
So the prosecutor was examining this witness.
Okay.
And then the judge turned it over to Ace Attorney to do the cross-examination.
Right.
Does the defendant have the right to cross-examine witnesses against him?
Yeah, we do. I think the one who calls the witness goes first in the questioning. and the other party can start questioning after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that different from?
No, that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Often in Ace Attorney, they are questioning at the same time.
Oh yeah, that shouldn't happen. Actually.
Yeah,
Go.
they show that in American legal shows all the time, and it drives me crazy that just it's one and then the other. You don't get to question them at the same time.
Yeah, you have to have patience, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And to find someone guilty of murder, does the jury have to be unanimous, as in the United States?
No, actually, we decide on majority vote.
Okay. So there's 6 jurors, and you need 4 for conviction.
Oh, basically 6 chairs plus 3 judge.
Oh, okay.
So there are 9 votes actually.
Huh.
So 5 votes can make a decision.
And the judges participate in that process?
Yes.
No kidding. Okay.
あれが倒れる音。あれって何ですか？
そう、ガラスの電気スタンドだよ。You understand?
確かに倒れてるな。ガラスの電気スタンド。
つまり何の矛盾もないということだ。
So the prosecutor is talking about the lack of contradiction. What standard do you need to convict someone of a murder crime? In the US, the standard is a very, very high bar. You have to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest standard in all of criminal law. Is there a similar articulation of a standard?
I think it's exactly the same.
Really?
Yeah. So beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah. But to get a conviction, you only need a majority of the jury and the judges together deciding that there was no reasonable doubt.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
What? なんだ？
今のあなたの証言は完全に矛盾している。
The funny thing about him making an objection
Right.
is that he's conducting the cross-examination.
Right.
He can't object to himself. And,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
and he's objecting to the testimony of this guy. That's the one place where you're not allowed to make an objection. You just, question them.
And you have to object to the judge, you know?
Yeah.
You don't make an objection to the witness.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could move to strike the testimony if there was something there, but a factual contradiction is not a thing that you can make an objection to.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
And then also, we don't really say igiari. We don't say that. We just say politely igiarimasu. That's how we do it.
Yeah. For the most part, that's the same in the US
Right,
as well.
yeah.
You're just simply pointing something
Yeah.
out to the
But
judge.
it's more interesting.
Yeah, of course.
認めるべき罪はもちろんこいつだ。
それは確か現場の電話機に仕込まれていた盗聴器ですな。
でも盗聴ならば昨日すでに松竹梅代が認めています。
Are there grounds to stop certain questions or stop certain answers? We have a whole system of rules of evidence. Hearsay is a famous one that, technically hearsay evidence shouldn't come in most of the time. We talk a lot about how the exceptions allowed all the time. In the Japanese trials, are objections made to prevent evidence, or there are some legal systems where basically everything comes in and it's up to the jury to decide that something isn't important or is important? Are there rules of evidence that prevent or allow things in?
The prosecutors bring all the evidence in the first place, and they have to present all of them at the beginning of the trial.
今この瞬間弁護士の主張は木っ端みじんに砕け散ったようだ。
Once again, you don't scream in the court.
Even if you're really upset?
Even if you're upset, then you have to control your emotions.
Does this layout make any sense at all with the witness sort of in the center and the judge over here?
This
on
is a
the...
very big courtroom, in the first place. Usually, the judge is much closer, and we have law clerk in here. And you don't really come out
Yeah.
in the middle of the case,
Yeah. Same in the US.
Right.
There's so many American movies where the lawyer just walks around
Right.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen in real life.
Oh, it doesn't happen?
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually you have to ask for permission.
Oh, okay.
This is We would call this the well.
Yeah.
And you would ask for permission to enter the well. Sometimes you might be right in front of counsel table if you're questioning. But in movies, they're just walking around like they own the place. And that's just, not the case.
Well, it doesn't happen, right?
盗聴器を仕掛けたのは本当にあなただったんですか？
Of course! ミス梅代に聞いてみたまえ。
綾里法律事務所に別の古い指紋があった。おそらく小中氏のものだろう。
三剣、指紋のこと隠していたな。
I assume that the prosecutor cannot offer his own argument in the middle of a cross-examination to bolster the witness's testimony.
弁護側の尋問はこれで。
なるほどくん。なるほどくん。
千尋さん。
あなたを助けたいという必死の思いがあの子の力を目覚めさせたみたい。
The victim's sister is channeling the spirit of the victim who is helping during the trial. Is there a cultural thing here, or is this just completely insane? Because there's no analog for this in American culture at all.
I think I don't know. Maybe we do have sort of culture that we believe our ancestors.
Okay.
So that kind of comes into the reality, and that kind of explains what she's trying to do. But come on, this is during the trial.
Yeah, and also he's the criminal defendant, and then the victim's sister is just hanging out at counsel table.
Yeah. What is she doing?
What is she doing there? I have no idea. I have zero clue.
この領収書に何が？
分かったみたいね。
それではこれにて審理を終了して判決に移ります。
Okay, well, I'm glad there's an objection there. Well, I forgot. This was a continuation from the previous trial, so I guess there's been a lot of evidence entered. The police testified. Oh my! I don't even know what to say. The judge ending trial abruptly without closing arguments and just saying, "All right, I'm going to find you guilty." I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not realistic.
Right. It's not realistic at all.
Actually, though, a proper place for an objection, I would say.
That's true. But this is not objection. This is hold it.
Oh, really?
What is hold it? We don't really have it's not written in law.
However, there was a holding, but
なるほどryuichi.
Yeah, it's just a plea to stop ending the trial.
But as if we have right to stop the judge, in the middle, but we don't really have that kind of system.
Yeah.
重要なのは表。これは領収書なんです。
領収書だって？一体何の？
ガラス製の電気スタンド。
事件の際、倒れて割れたスタンドです。
Okay, so sure, that is good evidence to use against this witness, but this witness doesn't have any knowledge of this document. So here in the US, there would have been an objection that there's no basis to question this witness about this receipt because he has no knowledge about it. And here's the ace attorney, giving a closing argument. I have this evidence that contradicts your testimony. Yeah. I mean, is there any reason that he would be allowed to question this witness about something that doesn't concern him?
Not at all. And he should be, having really close look at this evidence because it's important.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing it to the end,
Yeah.
俺僕は認めないぞ。そこの生意気なギザギザがやったんだ。困った。
裁判長、検察側はもう一日審理の延長を要求する。
ほう。
再調査の上、新たな証拠を提示したい。
逃がしてはダメよ。今ここで決着をつけないと。
Okay, so in this series, the prosecutor is constantly withholding evidence from the defense, and he's always trying to stop trial so that he can go out and do more of an investigation and get more evidence. In the US, we have what's called the Brady Rule, where any evidence that would be helpful to the defense must be turned over to the defense long before the trial starts. Is there a similar rule, or is the prosecutor allowed to only disclose things as the trial proceeds?
In Japan, the prosecutors are allowed to disclose one evidence that they're going to use. But the prosecutors can reject a lawyer's request. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that turned over before trial, or is it turned over at trial?
Before the trial.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in a murder case, we have to have some series of meetings before going to the trial.
Okay.
And so all the evidence should be set before starting the trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty similar.
Yeah.
And again, nothing like
Nothing like.
Ace Attorney at all.
Goodbye forever!
待ちなさい。
なんだこれは。
俺はさっき千尋さんが走り書きしていた。
バカな。どうしてこのリストが。
あなたがこれまで脅迫してきた政財界や有名人のリストよ。
なぜだ。あの晩始末したはず。
それがマスコミに公表されたらあなた一体どうなるかしらね。リストはここに刻みつけてあるの。読み上げてあげましょうか。まずは法務大臣の。
それだけはやめてくれ。
それでは
認めるよ。
And then, oh, this is so ridiculous. The ghost of the dead woman
It's
like provides a list of,
something, right?
of names.
それだけはやめてくれ。
それでは
認めるよ。
Okay, I have to believe that having a blackmail list revealed to the public would not nearly be as bad as the penalty for confessing to the premeditated murder of the victim in this case. Am I right in that regard?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What penalty would this guy be facing? Could he get the death penalty?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
He only kills one person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one person.
You have to kill like 3 people
Okay.
in order to get death penalty in Japan, so.
Would he get life in prison?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like 15 years sentence or more.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like he should not care about that list.
裁判長以上です。
それでは綾里迷いおよびなるほど隆一の判決を言い渡します。無罪。
All right, now it's time to give Ace Attorney a grade for legal realism. I'll turn it over to you. What grade would you give this episode for realism?
So in Japanese grading system, we have U as a, like A,
Yeah.
Ryo as a B, like Ka as a C, and Fuka as F. And I'm gonna give the last one, Fuka.
I will also give it an F in the American system, and I'm so happy to hear that it wasn't just me saying this was unrealistic.
Right, yeah.
It's great to know that a Japanese lawyer also feels the same way.
Igeri!